a few tricks. Sipping on the brew while we jump, flip, and kick.
Welcome to Coffee and Choreo. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Cassidy.
And we're missing Katie.
Yes, we are missing Katie today, but it's okay because she will be back. She's just taking a little hiatus right now.
Yes, she'll be back. Okay, today we are talking about all things finance.
Yes.
And dance and cheer, because it's a big one. You mamas and dads spend a lot of money for your kiddos to be here, and we're grateful for that. And we kind of just want to break it down and kind of, in those that don't know anything about dance and cheer, like kind of talking about what the cost looks like.
Yeah.
So I guess starting with tuition, which is like the main thing, the month to month.
Yep.
I don't know what y'all's looks like compared to dance, or how y'all kind of get that number.
Yeah, so we actually do meetings with the parents and show them like a breakdown of what they're paying for, like what's included in tuition. So for tuition, some gyms separate their competition fees from their tuition, so it's like an extra cost that parents have to worry about throughout the season. And then some gyms build it into their tuition, and we build it into our tuition. So usually tuition is obviously paying your fee towards the gym for being here. I mean, because we have to pay for coaches, the equipment to run the facility, so that's part of your tuition. Also in your tuition, we build in our music fee and tuition. The choreography is built into tuition, and competition fees are built into tuition too, which I feel like helps parents pre-plan what they owe, because I feel like when we grew up, we didn't have that. So like our parents, like, we're not only paying tuition, but then like our coach would be like, hey, next month your music fee is due. Right. And then our parents have to like scrounge for that money.
And I'm totally guilty of that this season, because that's what that's exactly what I did. And I've learned that, so I will not be doing that next year. I will be building that into tuition competition fees, because it does, and this is the first year kind of doing all that on my own. Yeah. So learning that worked better. Yeah. And so, because I did have a few parents where it kind of was like, oh, that's a lot in 1 month. And it is. But we're already so into the season, it's too late to do it. So definitely we'll be changing that next year. I think if there's any studio owners or gym owners listening to this, I think that is the best route to go parent-wise. It just really helps them plan, and there's no surprises.
Yeah, especially if you know that there's parents within your gym who have to have second jobs, or have to make almost a payment plan with you. This is going to be the most beneficial, and it's the less stressful, because that way the owner or the manager in the front office, whoever it is that is in charge of making sure everyone is paying, doesn't have to reach out to parents more than necessary.
Right.
So it saves everybody time and frustration when it's all lumped into one fee. And then with cheer, tuition differs based on what team they make.
Yeah, I was literally about to talk about that with I think I maybe have two sets of kids that have the same exact tuition. Well, I take that back. I have a few, one team, but some team members, some do solos. And then I have some dancers that are in a duet and a hip hop team, and they have a solo, so it adds up. And some competition fees, duos and trios, are way more expensive than group dances. And so all that ties
That's crazy.
into it. Yeah, I know. So
would never have expected that.
So when we start talking about competitions, going in and having to register all the kids and break down break down the pricing, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Because I have a trio this year, and I have a duo, and theirs are different than my group of 7, which is still a small group, but it all adds together, and it's a lot. Yeah. And it takes hours.
I mean, I know for us, competition fee wise, I think another part of this topic is parents, wonder why our tuition goes up from year to year. And a lot of it, which, me and Katie have talked about with our parents before, is our tuition has those competition fees built into it. So if competition fees are going up, your tuition's going up.
Exactly.
And it has been going up because Varsity or whatever brand that we use for competition, they have to rent out the convention center. So the convention centers raise their prices. Varsity has to pay more for that, which means then Varsity has to raise their prices for us, which means we have to raise our prices for y'all.
Yeah.
So it's just like a domino effect. Like most of the time, me and Katie do not want to raise tuition fees at all because like we want to make it affordable. We want to keep kids here. But there's outliers that like we can't help. Like we can't help that the competition fees go up.
Right.
And like it also depends on how many competitions we do. So like that's why elite team is more expensive, is because they go to way more competitions than prep or novice or half year. And so the more competitions, the more your tuition's gonna be.
Right. I was going to ask you this because I was so curious about this because, like, I want to take our girls to nationals this year, but they have to qualify at most competitions. Some competitions you don't have to qualify, or some nationals you don't have to qualify in their regionals, but most do. So for, like, the D2 Summit, how do you put that into it?
So we don't.
Okay.
So that is the only one that's not built into your tuition, and that's because we don't know if we're going. So it'd be stupid to charge y'all for something that we may or may not be going to. But yes, so that is an outside fee. And also, like, there is always a possibility they give away partial paid and full paid bids.
That's true.
So we haven't gotten one of those before. We've only gotten wild card and at-large bids, but we've been close. But that would affect how much they pay. So parents, when that happens, we try to get summit teams to go ahead and fundraise early. And if for some reason, God forbids, they don't get a bid, they can take that money and apply it to their accounts.
Right.
So we try to get them to fundraise early. That way, if they get a competition later in season, it's not like rushing and like pulling that money like out of thin air. But on top of them having to pay their fee for D2 Summit, we also have to charge a coach's fee because we travel.
Right.
So, and I know there's been controversy. Like there's been some parents who assume or think that they're also paying for like Chad and Riley to go. I'm like, you're not, I promise.
Yeah.
I would never make you pay for my husband to go to Disney with me. No, he pays for himself.
Yeah.
But the coach's fee usually covers me, Katie, and Mac, because Mac's always gone with us, because if we have multiple teams, and ESPN Resort is like massive.
Yeah.
So like one time we had a team compete and we got done and we had to run. And I was pregnant, but nobody knew I was pregnant. So everyone ran ahead of me because I couldn't run. So I was just like fast walking, and by the time I got there, like warm-ups was like halfway over. But we have to bring Mac with us, which I know like a lot of people question that as well. Like she's not one of the coaches of the teams. Why is she there? But it helps.
Extra hands.
It is.
Yeah.
Extra hands help.
Extra eyes.
And
all of it.
she helps fight our scores if we need it. And like she's
love
helpful.
Coach
She's
Matt.
helpful,
Yes.
okay?
She will argue. She's
Yes.
no problem.
No
with
problem.
that.
So
we love her for it.
So yeah, we have the competition fee, and the competition fee price depends on how many kids go.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah. So like if what was it? Not last season, but the season before, our senior team did not get their bid until the very last competition. And so the projected cost for the other teams that we had given them were pretty high. But when the senior team got their bid, I think we had like 13 or 14 kids on that team. It dropped it down, obviously. Gotcha. So that's another question we get is like, why does the coach's fee change year to year? Because it depends on how many kids are going. So we have to book our flights and book our hotels, which is the only thing I'll pay for, our flights and our hotels. And then whatever that price is gets multiplied by 3 coaches and then divided by how many athletes.
Yeah.
So that's how we get that number, okay?
Yeah. Right now we're just doing dance. We're doing local competitions, so we don't have that. I'm grateful for that. I'm sure parents are too. But if we do go to nationals outside of Bastrop, which they are all outside of Bastrop, we will have that. And we put that in our audition and tryout package.
Yes.
So, like, they're aware of it and they
Yeah.
sign to it. Just talking to, like, any coaches or studio owners that are listening, if that's something you want to apply. Because speaking to some studio owners, just that I know, they don't do that.
Yeah,
they don't apply it. And personally, I think they should because it's a lot. Like the coach,
Which one was mine, but I figured it out.
adding like the coach's fee and stuff, and just for coaches, because it does add up. And we're there for your kid.
Yeah, and I also think like being open with what your tuition like entails is very important. So like we are very much an open book with our parents. Like we have parent meetings that break down costs, and we show them like these are the competitions you go to. This is the registration for one team at every competition. NCA is our most expensive competition, and it's literally just 4 hours down the road. Like, but it's the biggest national competition because it has your D1 Summit teams there, your D2 teams there, and your Worlds teams there. So it is all the end of year events that happen in Disney that are usually held on 3 separate weekends. NCA is all of them in one weekend.
Yeah.
And so it's the most expensive. Signing up for that competition sold out in 6 minutes this year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So they are very, very strict on like
Did y'all
first.
get in?
Yes.
Okay.
So first come, first serve. You literally cannot waste a second to try and get into that competition. And
I learned that this year.
Yeah.
And I've never experienced that with dance before. And I was talking to Katie about it because there was one convention I wanted to go to this year, and we got into the convention, but the competition closed, and I was so upset, like still kind of really upset about it. And I'm not upset about the at the convention at all. I just next year I need to be like more on top of it, and I thought I was on top of it, and I wasn't.
yeah.
But we have like there's nationals that are filling up, and we haven't even had like the regional competition yet.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. So I don't know if we need to. I mean, it's not me, but
Yeah.
add more competitions or what? Because there's studios and gyms are popping up everywhere.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, yeah. And we pre-plan our schedule so that way parents know in advance how many they're going to and why that is their tuition is the way that it is. And then sometimes in case of a bid emergency, we'll call in an extra competition, but usually me and Katie, usually the gym will eat that cost because it wasn't originally on the schedule. So we don't like to throw out surprise like prices to parents. We still ask parents if they're willing to go or not, and so we leave it up to them, but I think we've only had to do that twice in the past 4 years, so it's not something like that we do often, but
Right. I had a question. The only out-of-state competition y'all do, y'all go to Georgia and then Florida?
yeah, so we go to Georgia. We take all of our elite teams to Georgia, and then we go to Youth Summit in Tampa, and then 2 weeks later we go back to Florida to Orlando for the junior
crazy.
senior teams.
That's crazy.
So technically coaches go out of state 3 times, but like
But it's like
the
different
kids will
teams.
only go twice.
Gotcha.
They'll all go to Georgia and they'll all go to Florida once.
Gotcha.
But the coaches have to do a turnaround and go to Florida twice.
That's insane.
Which was
I'm tired.
which
What were
was
you thinking
crazy.
about that?
Like, so Georgia, I was still on my maternity leave, so I didn't like have to ask off for that or anything. But coming back from maternity leave and having 0 days left because you were on maternity leave
During your other job.
yeah, and then having to come back and take off that many days, I still wasn't getting a good paycheck.
Oh my goodness.
Because I wasn't getting paid for being off because I had 0 days.
Oh, because you weren't on your maternity leave anymore.
No, I wasn't on maternity leave anymore. So when I came back, all my days were gone. They
But
make you.
you just took off.
I took off. And it helped
Oh.
that the assistant principal, her daughter is on our team.
Oh, who is it? Well, you don't have to say. but-
Kinsey. It's Kinsey's mom. Kinsey, the one who helps coach tumbling.
Oh, okay. I
Her
did not
mom is
know
an
that.
assistant principal, and so
That's
and
awesome.
I mean, even my principal didn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, it's
Was that at
Our
the
choice.
the school you were at? then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Got
Yep.
it. Cool.
But yeah, so that's tuition. I mean, and then the biggest cost outside of tuition for us is uniforms.
Costumes for us.
So uniforms are very pricey. Besides, like depending again on the team that you're on. So like novice uniforms are,
Which are so cute
very
this year.
low priced. I
Yeah.
think this year they were like $150 or one something.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then
why are they so much?
just,
Or is that normal?
That's normal. That's the
That's
rhinestones.
crazy. I
and-
guess the only, well, there's a lot of pluses, but one thing with dance is their costumes, but you have to get a new one every year. Y'all don't.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we do every 2 years to save our family money, unless like if you were on prep, like so we had some kids who were on prep last year, so they had to have a prep uniform and got moved up to elite, so then they had to buy an elite uniform.
50.
That's for novice.
How much is the elite? That's for novice.
That's
What
for
is
novice.
prep?
I think preps was around 300. And
I'm sorry,
then
this is shocking to me.
elite, I think elite was 425.
425.
Yeah, all the stones.
They are really pretty.
They're really
if
pretty.
If you have seen, go to our Instagram, Texas
Yes.
Aces Athletics, and look at them. They're really
gorgeous.
pretty.
They have tons of stones on them. But we used a different brand our first year, and it's a great brand. It's arguably more popular than the one that we use right now. They're kind of like rivals, but
Who's the rivals?
I can't say their names.
I want to know.
But we stopped using them because they were more expensive, and we felt like we were paying more for less.
Got it.
And now, or like, so like we pay the same amount for this uniform, but the uniform is so much more. Like there's more to it, more stones. It's custom
Did
too.
you design it?
Yes. So it's custom. So it's there is a lookbook where they have like uniforms that are already in stock. So all you have to do
And
is
can
say
you add to it and take off and
yeah,
stuff like that?
you can, but then it turns into custom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is uniforms. Like I know next year we're gonna do an in-stock uniform for prep because preps was custom too.
Yeah.
We're gonna do an in-stock uniform for preps, so it's gonna be much cheaper
What
for
does that
them.
mean?
It means like the company has already like these uniforms are in stock in their warehouse. All they have to
Okay.
do is pull it, slap the logo on
y'all are
it,
going-
send it on our way.
So next year you'll do different uniforms for prep?
Yes, and then elite will have brand new uniforms too, but they will be custom. So I have to get to designing that one too soon.
I know. I feel like we've just started. I feel like we just started this season. It's been a while, but like we're about to
You're already thinking about
Yes,
next
you're already
season.
thinking about next season.
it's
I
a
already-
really
I
bad
already
trait,
have
dude.
an ongoing list of things that
Oh, yeah.
I'm like I know how the summer's gonna work with our
Yep.
company kids. I know how auditions are gonna work next year. Like it just you learn as you go. Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
just crazy.
So yeah, I have to soon get started on. I'm looking at one of the uniforms right now, hanging out. That's why I'm. But we have to get started on custom designing the elite uniforms, and I got to start on practice wear too because these things take a long time to come in. A long time. Like it'll
Like, how
take
long, like months.
6+
Oh
months.
my gosh. I
So
didn't know
it's
that.
because it's custom.
So how do you know? Because you haven't had tryouts yet.
So we'll go ahead and design
Design
it,
them.
but we won't
Order.
like put in the order until usually like June, July is when we'll put in the order. So like right after tryouts, we'll usually have our rep come in and we'll do all the sizing, and then Katie will charge the price to the parent's account. There's a due date. Once all the money's in, Katie will pay for it, and then from that day that Katie pays for it will be determined like how long it'll take for it to come in.
Got
But we've always had our uniforms before competition, so that's all that matters to us.
Yeah.
That's all
So,
that matters.
Y'all's first competition, this one that's coming up, y'all have all the uniforms?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So
I knew at Showcase there
Yes.
was a few that
but it will be here before competition. We do know that for sure.
Good.
So
Y'all's first competition's not this weekend. It's
not
next
this weekend, but next weekend. Yeah.
I'm so
And so
excited.
like competitions, that's like another fee because parents,
Right.
I mean, they have to. I mean, luckily some of them are pretty local. Like
Yeah.
you can drive up the morning of and go home afterwards, like
Right.
Houston and stuff. So, our one day competitions
Or in Bastrop.
Yeah, she's so lucky. Hers is like literally in our town.
Really lucky. Well, we even have a convention that's in Bastrop too that we're going to
Dang.
in December. It's at the Hyatt.
Yeah, I think our closest competition is San Antonio.
That's crazy. We are doing one in San Marcos this year. I just wanted to do one different one that I haven't done before, and so we were doing that.
I like
one.
that.
Yeah, and so we're gonna try that one. Hold on, I'll go back to the costumes for talking about dance because that price was crazy.
I know.
That was crazy. I guess so with dance. It does add up because they just have to buy one. So I guess I have to think about it that way because I have two dancers that. I guess I have 2 or 3 dancers that are in 3 dances, and so each costume, I would say average like $75 to $100. But you $75 to $100, and then we rhinestone them ourselves. You can get custom costumes. A lot of kiddos get custom costumes off Etsy.
Yeah,
And for soloists, I usually let them kind of go and do what they want. They just get it approved by me, and then they can buy their costume. Pretty much every soloist got a custom costume this year, or you can change it, add to it. Like we add rhinestones is a huge one because on stage with the lights, and that's like an easy add-on, and it's not that expensive when you just buy them from Amazon and then you use the E6000 glue. But then I guess like hair pieces and tights, and then the shoes and stuff. The biggest thing that I think I had a few parents kind of were like whoa about when it came to costs were if they're on a hip hop team, because when you think you're on a hip hop team, you got to get shoes too.
Yes.
And you don't realize how much shoes are until like you put them in a costume. And so when I was even breaking down the prices, and because we just had all our costume fees due, I like the hip hop dancers were the most expensive because you do have the shoes. And I added extras when it comes to like I do earrings, so everyone had to get earrings this year, and then hair pieces, just little things like that. And then if we are rhinestoning the costumes, like I add that to it, and stuff like that. So I guess when I heard your number, I was like, whoa. But then when you really think about it, because they get to wear that for 2 years. So if you divide that by 2 and then there are multiple dances, it's the same exact thing. It's the same exact thing.
So nobody get mad at me and Katie for being so expensive compared to her, because technically, if we have the same uniform for 2 years, it's the same.
It is the same.
And we have the same bow for both 2 years, which is also built into tuition. Right. And then your shoes, we've kept the same black shoes. This is our 4th year on the same black cheer shoe. So like we don't force them to get new shoes every year. It just depends on wear and tear.
Black.
Yeah.
Because then they don't get dirty.
So it just depends on wear and tear. I mean, some athletes get new shoes every year. Some athletes it's every 2 years. And cheer shoes are expensive because they are strategically made to be supportive but lightweight because of tumbling and stuff. So I think the shoes that we have right now are like $120 to $140. But again, you can wear those for multiple years.
Yeah, we have some dancers.
Just don't wear them outside and it will last long. I don't know how many times I've said that too.
Yeah, y'all know those rules and some don't listen. But yeah, I have some dancers that are up here however many days a week, and they're going through shoes like no tomorrow.
Crazy. Because they wear them outside.
Yeah.
Quit wearing your stuff outside.
They have their toes going through the thing, and I'm like, Lord help
If Katie
us.
was here, she would literally tell this story about, there is a picture of her. So we wore like Infinity cheer shoes growing up, which are like the OG cheer shoes. Like even now, like World's teams wear them. They're so thin that the bottom sole will wear through like within a year. But They're lightweight. They feel like socks. They're good for tumbling, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, there's a picture of Katie's toe popping out of the bottom of her shoe because she had a big old hole in the middle of her shoe at competition. But yeah, I mean, as long as you take care of your shoes, then there's no reason why parents will have to buy a new pair every single year. So that's another thing that cut costs is us being like consistent on like what we want for the kids. We do not make mandatory backpack. We have
I did.
We have backpack option designed, and we usually we try to do new backpacks every other year and keep the same style. But the backpacks we got last year, I think it was last year, it might have been the year before, I don't remember, they ended up being crap.
That's what I heard.
Crap.
That's what I was talking to one of the blogs about it, and then Katie, because we got our backpacks in, and I really like them.
Yeah.
I wanted to do backpacks. I think I just to have all the kids can put all their stuff in there, and I don't know. I like the look at competition. All the kids have in their backpacks, and that's why I did sweats and sports bras, and then the typical dance jacket that everyone wears. But we got all those in this week.
Yeah, so I think cute. With so we have a rule at competitions. I feel like it's been very lenient. It went into place when me and Katie went into our senior year of high school. Was that your belly had to be covered when you were not backstage or competing, just for like predatory reasons, honestly. And they're still kids, so keeping it very modest. And another rule came into place back in the Gap. You could be 5 years old and wearing a crop top uniform. And so like now junior teams and below have to have a full belly, and senior teams are the only ones allowed to wear crops. But we tell our kids, like, you need to be wearing a shirt or something over your uniform until it's ready for us to like stretch and go to warm-ups.
That's why we have our jackets, and I haven't said anything yet about us doing the jerseys.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so doing those too, because that's there's no really rules. Some at the facilities have rules about if you're walking around. Like, I don't want your uniform, or not your uniform, your costume out because you could spill something on it or whatever. But same thing, like cover up, like put your jacket over it if you're walking around the facility before.
And it keeps your muscles warm too before you have to compete.
Right.
So,
and if they're on stage for awards, like I want their jacket on and you're representing.
So that's one thing. I know we're going a little off topic right now, but that's one thing that we did too was I cannot stand going to awards and an athlete shows up in a t-shirt and pajama pants and Crocs. Like, ew, you were representing the gym. So that has always been the rule, that you need to be at competition with your uniform, shoes on. Like, it needs to look like you just competed and you need to come back. But some people were like showing up with like their shoes off, and I'm like, "Where are your shoes?" "Oh, with my mom." But then there's nothing I can do about it in the moment because we're at awards. So yeah, no. This past year, I got really strict about it. I was like, "Nope, go find your parent. Go find your parent. Go find your shoes."
It's just like
it's a look. It's a representation,
thing, and that's why. And this can tie into the cost, because we did do like warm ups this year with jackets, sweatpants, a sports bra, and because before you, when you show up to the competition, this is what you should be wearing. You're representing our studio, like our logos on it. And then after awards, you're either in your costume or you switch back into that on stage because you're representing. And so that like added cost, like there's a reason behind it. And I let my parents know that like the uniformity was really important to me. Go into these competitions to represent our studio, especially being year one. You have to make a statement. 100%. And so that's why I was like, we're doing backpacks, we're doing jackets, we're doing sweatpants. And it really just, the look, and some parents have never done competitions before, a competitive dance, will come to these competitions and understand more why I did what I did. Yeah. I know, like another thing, like so many gyms make their parents buy warm-up jackets for their athletes, and they force them to put it
on over their uniform for awards at, like, for cheer. And I've seen like one major D1 gym, they do it, and then there's a D2 gym here in Texas, they do it as well. And I mean, that's the thing, is like my thought was, if you can't show up the way that I tell you to show up, then there will be that added cost of the warm-up jacket that you are now going to have to pay for, and I don't want to do that. You know, like if you just do like what we asked to do, then, you know, there won't be anything else.
Yeah, so what do your kids wear to awards?
Uniform.
They wear uniform.
They have to be full uniform, shoes on, hair up with bow in it.
That
just like they have to go to they have to go to awards like they just stepped off the floor to compete. So that's the expectation. And so, but yeah, I mean, cheer and dance are pricey. They're literally two of the arguably most expensive sports. And I mean, we had a meeting where we talked with other people who are involved in other sports in our county, and like how much it costs for them to travel to do these things. And yes, it's expensive, but like it is nothing compared to competitive cheer and dance. Like, it is nothing. I mean,
if we could make a list, and we might make a list, I don't know, and like with all the stuff that's added into it, because it's not just you come to rehearsal, there's so much more that goes into it. We just went over, like, you have the uniforms and the costumes, and then you have all the added stuff. You have the intensives and the conventions, which are optional. Definitely recommended, but optional.
I'm gonna say we host clinics. We have level up clinics every other weekend, and so a lot of these kids go to extra clinics, extra privates to level up their skills in order for them to be ready for next year's tryouts. And so it's an investment. So just like if you have a little boy who wants to play football and you take them to all these different football camps during the summers and stuff, like, that's an investment into what they want to do. Same thing here. So they spend extra money for clinics and privates or intensives, more extra classes with you to get better. And then on top of that, I know y'all don't have practice wear, but like we have mandatory practice wear, which we do go through a brand that's a little bit cheaper. And so I don't think practice wear is very expensive. I think it's like $75 a set. And it's custom. So it's not bad for something that's like customly designed for us.
You can wear it like
forever. And then competitions, though, that's where it gets pricey, especially like our 2-day competitions. And also if you're going to Georgia or Florida, like you've got to pay for a flight. And if you're taking your whole family, that gets expensive. So flights, hotels, and then you have the spending money on top of that. I mean, going to Disney, I think the average family probably spends about $2,000 to go every year. And then
and that's not even including the competition fee, or is it?
No, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have
that's a little less than I thought.
Yeah, it's really not that bad, especially if you plan for it. And every single summit team, like when you make the team, you should already be planning that you're going to go. I think, I don't know why, but I feel like sometimes we get close to it's time for us to go and parents are like, I just can't afford for my entire family to go to Florida. And I'm like, you've had since May when your kid made the team. So it's been basically a year. There's only 2 weeks between competing at Summit and your kid being placed on the team for the next season. So you've only had you've had a year to plan and save to go to Disney or fundraise or whatever, or talk to us way in advance and say like, hey, can I put this into a payment plan? Can you help me out here? Because we work with anyone who absolutely needs help in figuring out their finances. But the last second stuff is just...
Have y'all ever had a kid or family that said, no, I'm not going?
Yeah. And they were not allowed to be on elite team this year.
Oh, so it happened last year. Oh, my God.
We had... they got their bid, and, I mean, the parent did let us know right after the bid that they were not going to be able to go, and we kind of rearranged the routine to where when we took her out, it wouldn't really matter. So she competed for the rest of the season on the team. And then she was no longer, after the last competition before Summit, she no longer practiced with the team. She still showed up for practices, but she wasn't allowed to practice with them. And it violated contract. So she's not an elite team this year. And that's also like, we have a right to, like, if you say you're not going, then that can jeopardize your kid being on an elite team the next year.
Well, how do you know you're not going to do it again?
Exactly.
Yeah. And
so
you just put all this work in, and then
absolutely.
you're not going to do it.
So yeah, we've had it happen once.
And it was just one family?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
one
happened
kid.
last year?
Mm-hmm. But the sport's pricey. If I had to estimate, I think for an entire season of cheer with tuition, hotel fees, and then if you have to put in like the flights, uniform, whatever, I have to say it's close to 10 grand, if not more.
See, I was going to say for dance, I'd say 10 to 15 grand.
Yeah.
And that's like the dancer that has like, does it all, does every intensive, does every workshop that I offer, and as a solo, because soloists, their pricing at competition is very high.
Yeah.
Compared to because you're splitting it between if there's 7 kids on a team, but then there's all added extras. Titles, you can compete for titles, and it's not free. You have to pay for it. And so explaining to that, and the parents know all this, so I try to break it down as much as possible in the beginning so they are aware, so there's no surprises, like we already said.
Yeah.
And making this a note is we don't come up with the convention intensive workshop fees.
No.
I don't pull them out of anywhere. They tell us how it is, and then that's what it is.
That's the same with competition fees. We cannot help that they are so freaking expensive. And then we used to have double teamers, kind of like how you have kids on multiple, and their tuition was more because crossover fees at competition was more expensive. Really? So like if you had an athlete competing on 2 teams, you had to pay an extra fee. So then that's why double teamers had to pay more, was because of that extra fee.
Yeah. And on the dance side, like we do the exact same thing as like I have offered to multiple families, like if they need help, like please tell me, like we can put into payment plans. I can add this fee to a different month because this month is Christmas month and you're buying presents. Like I get it. My mom went through it, and my mom is kind of telling me a lot more than now about like all the fees. How
much she had to pay for. I mean,
like putting it on credit cards and stuff like that. And so I know how expensive it is, and that was years ago. And so
it's so much more expensive now. It's ridiculous
now, and there's so much more to offer now with kids. Like there were intensives and stuff when I was growing up, but like not to the level that it is now. And so I offer it to y'all, to the families, because like I want these kids to have as much opportunity as possible, but just know that like I'm not putting that money in my pocket.
Right. Yeah, and I'm
paying for it. Yeah,
me and Katie, both of our moms had to have second jobs in order to get us through. And speaking on a personal note, my junior year, my parents got a divorce, and so I was able to finish out my junior year, but my mom was like, there's no way I can pay for you to do it your senior year. Like, there's no way. Because she had already chosen to retire, thinking that her and my dad were going to, like, be together, And so money was tight, and I wasn't going to do it my senior year. And then, by the grace of God, some very close people of mine who are now my in-laws decided to help me, and so I was able to do it my senior year. So, like, we understand. Like, that's one thing that I want parents to know, is that, like, we were not made of money when we were younger. Like, yes, it was an expensive sport, but we loved it so much that our parents would
do anything
through so much in order for us to do this sport, or like, and family, friends, or my extra family to help me, and we get it. So like, we don't want people to feel like they can't come to us for help. And me and Katie have found sponsorships for kids. Like a family member of mine had done a sponsorship for 2 of our kiddos who desperately needed it, and so we are willing to like find help. And I think if you're a gym owner and you're watching this, or if you're a coach at another gym, like that's something that's a great idea, is to let these kids go out to different companies and find sponsorships to help them or encourage your parents to do it. Or if you know a kid who loves the sport so much and is 1,000% dedicated to what they do, but mom or dad is having a hard time paying for it, help them find a sponsorship. Me and Katie try our best to find people, and sometimes we do and sometimes we fall short, but at least the effort is there.
Yeah.
So
like I promise you, we're not in it for the money.
Yeah.
That just as something that just is what it is, and it's there.
If we can make it cheaper, we would.
We would.
We would.
100% would.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Cool.
Perfect.
Cool. All right. Well, until next time, keep your coffee hot.
And your toes pointed.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Moves hit the floor, we energize, roar. Coffee in the blood, can't ask for more.